Spencer, North Carolina, we are a town of about 3,500 residents. We are a working class town. We were founded in the early 1900s. They were mechanics, they were tradesmen, and we're hardworking folks, and we've kind of maintained that same culture for decades.
The site has been there forever. It started out as an industrial site back in the early 1900s, was in operation up into the late 1990s. And as it closed, it went through some gyrations as far as what the future use would be. The property owners demolished the property, took down the old buildings, hauled off all the valuable materials that were there, and left sort of a desolate post-industrial site that nobody could call an attractive site for development. But it was a part of Spencer, and the town of Spencer's leadership at that time, and this was before I got here, started thinking about how that area could be developed and how it could be beneficial to the town of Spencer. My name is Steve Blount. I'm the town's planner, and my official title is the Zoning and Subdivision Administrator, but I prefer to be thought of as the planner because that's the fun part of the job.
And my name is Peter Franzese. I'm the town manager here in Spencer. I talked about the opportunities for investment at the site and the perfect location, but there were serious logistical infrastructure related challenges with the site. That was the big issue to solve is how do we get the infrastructure in place? And that's where we tried to do our best to involve partners in that discussion.
Still trying to figure that out. Not sure when we're going to.
One of the first things we did was connect with Donald and Ken when I got into office, and our board and our town management, to really make a connection and start to try and work with them on what I consider to be a true public-private partnership, working with them to try and envision ways that we could activate that site, that we could find a developer that would be interested in taking on a site that had some environmental challenges for sure.
This is probably the 10th legacy textile mill that we've worked on. Not only did we build a lot of those facilities when textiles were hot and heavy, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, but we've processed and redeveloped a lot of those historic facilities as well. The infrastructure story is still good. Ken, Donald, the property owner, suggested for us to go meet with the town and see if we could bring those two things together towards a shared goal.
When they finally got Samet to the table, Brian Hall had done this very type of redevelopment numerous times before. They had the experience and they were believable in what they were trying to tell the owners. So the owners turned it over to Samet to solve the Brownfield problems, to take the project forward.
When we first met them, they had already done a tremendous amount of conceptual land planning. It was a big benefit that they had already invested in that work, and it helped accelerate our interest, our involvement, but also our pursuit of grant funding.
The question mark sort of became who's going to pay for all this. And that is always a problem for a small town like ours. Come budget time, we're talking about dollars and pennies, not hundreds of thousands of dollars to do studies of this nature. For a small town, we don't have deep enough pockets to spend millions of dollars on anything. We struggle to keep the potholes filled and the sidewalks repaired.
You're not going to get every large grant that you go after. Being able to package together some smaller grants, for example, right, we started with a $75,000 grant to be able to do that small area study. But by having the small area study, it allows us to paint a picture and a vision for what that site could be, And as they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And so we're able to leverage those small grant wins to then be able to start to paint the picture.
We have multiple grants in place on this particular property. The federal government, state governments, local governments have allocated grants, resources, tools for redevelopment of brownfields because they're often in great locations.
Central Iowa, we had to, they've actually, I think, came to us with the opportunity to be involved in that. We had the site that we were looking at, and they were looking for sites to put into their application. So we told them about the North Carolina finishing site, and they got excited about it and said, yeah, we want you to be one of our first programs. The North Carolina Railroad, they have some new grant programs in place to help solve the brownfield question marks on old textile sites, and also to help redevelop sites that might be rail served. At this point, they've given us 2 different grants that are going towards one solving the brownfield and one solving the infrastructure problems that the site has.
By leveraging those smaller grants to then get additional grants, and the grants that we're getting continue to increase. And the fact that we're now in the Brownfields program is huge for us. I think that was a big milestone for the project. And so we're now picking up that momentum. People are buying into that vision. Funding agencies are buying into that vision.
But it goes back to making sure we're staying in touch with our partners about what we're working on and what we're trying to accomplish. And when, so it's not just us looking for the opportunities, it's our partners as well, who are able to help connect the dots.
You have to have a champion at the particular jurisdiction, city, county, like Steve and Peter are for Spencer and for this project. Without the help of Spencer, this project would not be moving forward.
It's kind of like the train, right? You start, get the wheels turning, and then keep that momentum. If you can develop a good working relationship with all the players that are going to be involved, like we have, that sets the project up for success.
We're working here to be a model small town for all of North Carolina. And what's happening at the finishing company is a huge piece of that. It's going to create the economic base that we need to move us into our next chapter. And that's what's so exciting. So to work with our team each day and moving towards that, it's really what makes you excited to get to work and keep moving towards it.
And we view this as an opportunity to really create a jewel of a gateway for Spencer and for Rowan County. But I look forward to several years down the road when you can come back and take video and do interviews of a completely redeveloped North Carolina Finishing Company site.